Did we
Good
plan
evening, good evening, Beijing Fusion family. Celia, a long time coming, but I'm so happy to be here.
Did we plan this? Did we
I
plan to wear red
don't know,
tonight?
I don't know. I came on and I see you in red, and I hear in red too. Jess, hi Jess. My younger sister just logged on, Jessie.
Hi,
Jess
Jess.
and
How are
Mistress.
you?
But
Thanks for
red looks
joining.
brilliant on you. I would normally see you in blue, but red looks so good on you.
Red is one of my colors for real. Thank you. And I'm happy that we both came out in red today looking
Yeah,
lovely.
it looks good on you, Melanie.
Awesome. We're definitely going to go into deep conversation. On live with me tonight is Michron Robinson. She is the CEO of News on the Go. We're going to get right into it. Michron, tell us a bit about yourself, your platform, and your passion for wellness and advocacy.
Alrighty, so a little bit about Michron. Celia, I love fun. I love to skin my teeth when I'm ready, but equally so, laughter is good for your mental health. I am very, very passionate about movement. I'm excited about the work that Beijing Fusion is doing. My younger sister, Jessie, that's here. Jessie was interested in football and track and field, and we encouraged that. My parents, Michron and Michron Robinson, they encouraged us to have a blast back at school. Now, I know you would have played basketball and represented the country and all of that, but having that support from our parents growing up, they're really encouraged. Go and pick downs, rumble on the pasta, come and pick fat ports, come and pick sea grapes. So having that cultivation and encouragement from my younger days have also led into my adulthood. And it has benefited me a lot, to be honest. Seeing the importance of not just having a sedentary lifestyle or having a corporate job, but actually doing something about the way we live. I feel so much happier when I get in movement. I
Hmm.
also feel like a person can be of greater benefit to their family when they live a healthy life. So we know the scourge of NCDs. We hear it all the time in the media. You've known of the work with heart and stroke, which is why a movement like Beijing Fusion is so important, Celia. I'm bringing fun to it. When I hear you talk about Tata Booty and bring it on back, I get excited because that's a combination of laughter. That's a combination of Beijinness or
Yeah.
Beijinity. If I may use
Hmm.
that term, that's a combination of all of those things. So I'm really excited about the work you're doing. But a little bit about Michron. I love laughter. I love encouraging. I love inspiring. There honestly was a very low point in my life where I was alive, but I really wasn't living.
Mm.
And growing up, I knew what it was to feel alive. Growing up with both of my parents, a very happy family, I knew what it was to feel alive as a child. We would attend the Nation Fun Walk together. All of my friends in the neighborhood would come over. We would ride our bicycles at the Nation Fun Run. A little bit of skating, a little bit of this, fishing. So I knew what it was to feel alive. But around the age of 17, I actually got this diagnosis with my mental health. And I knew that this was not me because I knew what genuine happiness felt like growing up. I know what
Hmm.
wholesome fun is as well. Going to Christchurch Foundation, it was involved in cadets and track and field and hockey, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then my friends, all of my friends from Christchurch Foundation, some of them are still very important in my life. We had genuine wholesome times. So around age 17 and I at BCC and you got different interests and all of that. I knew that it wasn't me and being pumped up on all of those pills. My father was very encouraging and he would, make you gotta get back out there. So it was a lot of getting back to boogie surfing, getting back to paddle surfing, spending time at the beach, and all of those elements, along with the medication, yes, helped me to come back to who I really was, the lively personality that you see here today. I was actually talking to a friend recently, and she was saying, Mish, we can feel you taking up space again. And that meant a lot
Mm.
because I was a shadow of myself. Like in my mid 20s, late 20s, I was a shadow of who Michron Robinson is, but I'm back. And I'm so happy that I've made these changes, even in terms of advocacy and seeing life outside of myself. I've seen that there's more to life than looking at my own situation. So many people are going through so many things, and I'm just happy to share. Hi, Savannah. I have a young youth advocate with UNICEF, Savannah. Savannah, this is Celia Collymore from Beijing Fusion, and
Hi,
Savannah is
Savannah.
one of my mentees with the UNICEF Child Rights Ambassador Program. Yeah,
Fantastic.
so I was a shadow of myself, Celia, but I'm gradually, I think I'm around 75% to of who I really was. But it's not only going back and looking back at how, how happy life was as a child. As an adult, we have to step into responsibility. So yeah, man, I'm just grateful that I've seen that 360 and movement has played an important part in my mental health. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And let me tell you, you are more than at 75%. The few weeks that we would have interacted and you would have interviewed me and persons in my network, they're watching you, interviewing me, and you're communicating, and it has been nothing but positive. They're like, this young lady, not only is she beautiful, but she's so well spoken and she does such a great job in her
Yeah,
interviews. Like, this is feedback that I'm getting from my circle. So trust me,
wow.
you are more than 75%.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to continue on your journey and absolutely continue to take up space
I
because
appreciate that,
you
Celia.
are all worthy. And when you have skill sets, you need to use them. Why put them away? Why hide them? So I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I feel like seeing you within the space as, a similar background in terms of athletics and seeing you step into your power, it's inspiring for a number of us black women looking at you, Celia, the work that you're doing, the passion that you bring. Now I know it's not always easy, but
Never easy.
I know it's not always easy, but you show up and you're consistent even when the chips are down. It's almost like working with a coach and seeing how your coach operate and set an exemplary example is really inspiring too. So
I
thank you
appreciate it.
for the
You're
same
welcome
too.
and thank you. So I want to say a huge congratulations on your new book, Minds Over Matter. Tell us what inspired you to write this book?
Minds over matters. So my journey with bipolar disorder started around the age of 17. And we plan to have this under the news on the Go 10 on Saturday. A fellow family
Nice.
friend for Hannah Babilia printed for us. Um, Minds Over Matters was really inspired by understanding that my story was not really just for me, Celia. There are a number of young women and young men across Barbados who are battling with their mental health. Sometimes not only tied to having a mental health diagnosis, but coming from poor families, marginalized families, toxic parents, toxic bosses, and realizing that my story it's not about bigging up Michron and what Michron went through and Michron being a hero and all of that, yada yada, blah blah blah. It's really about understanding that we have to push this movement. And I know Dr. David Johnson is doing tremendous work with Let's Unpack It. I know for Hannah at
Yes.
United Nations Eastern Caribbean Office, her and Kareem Agar, they're doing tremendous work where mental health is concerned. But knowing
Hmm.
that we literally have young people behind the green gates as we speak this evening who need to hear hope, who need to know that it's going to be okay, who need to know that what they went through as a child, it's not where it is always going to be, who need to know that they have the capacity and the purpose to contribute to the domestic and wider economy in Barbados and across the Eastern Caribbean, who need to know that what their grandmother told them well growing up, that's not the final say. That's not people who are there are people that we're literally waiting on, Celia, who are filled with so much potential, answers that Barbados needs. People who can be young doctors. I know of stories during slavery where they were intelligent, enslaved during colonial times, who had the capacity to be doctors and can contribute to the society, but were unable to do so because they were simply because of this color right here. This
Yeah.
color not being able to walk down Broad Street, Celia. So it was coming to that understanding and coming into self that, Miss Ron, is not about the fact that, you were semi popular at school and you really need to cover up this thing. I had to forget all of my pride and forget all of my ego because
Mm.
there are young women and men who are living but are dead. You know what it is to be alive but dead? You
Yeah.
are alive but you have no purpose. You are alive but there's nothing more to what is happening within your space. That is that's just concerning. So stepping into that power, stepping away from ego and realizing I have something to offer, I decided to finish the book. I started it around 2017. So this is around 9 years of writing, 2017 until 2026, 9 years of writing. And realizing that, yeah, I may be public facing, yeah, I may be a journalist, but utilizing that platform to really motivate and encourage young people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what that was the catalyst for it. And then seeing other young people, a wonderful young gentleman that worked with me with News on the Go, Lucius Louis. Lou has
Yeah.
tremendous potential, and he's oftentimes public about his mental health too. So hearing Lou within this space, seeing young people, I decided, make sure you cannot continue holding this book to your heart. You need to let
Mm.
go. Let go of the full
Mm.
plate though. People out there waiting on things to happen, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to go public with my story. And I did. And I'm very happy that I did. The response that I get, I could not have imagined that I would have gotten that type of response. Um, and then the support from my parents. I think my dad, Tyron Robinson, and my mom, Michelle. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom, so we always had that close connection coming home from school, and she would be cutting up vegetables or cooking soup, and she would have those interactions with myself, my younger sister Jessie, and my younger brother Joshua, and also my cousin, more like a brother, Andre, as well. And the blueprint that they set for other parents could be a blueprint for other young people to use as well. Realizing that, I was having a conversation with one of the leading psychiatrists in Barbados for the same one-on-one program, Dr. Maisha Emmanuel. And Dr. Emmanuel actually made the point, the number one reason why people bounce back in terms of mental health situations is actually because of family support. And thank
Yes.
God I had family support. Both of my grandmothers, my dad's mom and my mom's mom, they supported me when I was going through it, Celia. I mean, imagining things that weren't there, not trusting my family circle. I had a circle that stood by me, my church family, friends from cadets, friends from school, people knowing what this is really the mission that we know. So having that family support helped me to bounce back. And then the second reason why people bounce back is actually financial support. Having people to stay with people during that period. So the book too, and going back to that number one reason, the number one reason is not financial, is not living in the biggest house, is not going to the beach every day. It's actually having a community, being able to communicate. We spend
Yes.
so much money on grief counseling, marriage counseling, counseling for the sexually, those who've been sexually and emotionally abused. And what is that? Communicating, feeling understood. So it's coming to that realization that this book, it could literally be a bridge between the corporate professional girl, but also a young Black Barbadian girl who understands the struggle and is willing to openly talk about that struggle as
Yes.
well. So I'm saying all of that to say, Celia, we spend all of that money on counseling to counselors that we don't know. When really and truly,
Yeah.
we only desire to feel understood, to feel as if you get what I'm saying. Like even having
Yeah.
a conversation with like a friend in a parked car, Shamika girl, I really don't know if I could deal with this. And you just want to feel you want to feel that warmth. Even though we spend so much time on social media, the reason why we spend so much time on social media is to feel understood, to feel the warmth of another human soul, to feel that touch, that button touch. If we travel, you go to Grenada, you go to Dominica, you go to Japan, you would say, I really enjoy that experience. Why? You enjoy the food, but you also enjoy the people. People love Barbadians because of our warmth. And I feel as if we can set an example where wellness tourism is concerned. We've already started that. We've heard conversations from the Prime Minister and even on the opposite side of the fence as well. You see, as Dre would say, having a village. And then Dre is also saying this conversation is following up on mental health from the Yes program. I think you would know Dre, Celia.
Right. So Dre, he started our Yes program. It started on Monday. I did Achieving Personal Excellence, and the facilitator yesterday actually focused on mental health. So this is a nice add-on for him jumping onto this call and being able to hear you share from your perspective. But I also want to add and reminding young persons that they have a community, like you said, a network. And I love that you highlighted that Savannah, who jumped on, is your mentee. So how do we bring somebody else along on the journey, right? Your experiences can add value to someone else. You can encourage other people when you move around in your neighborhood, when you move around at work, when you move around within sports. Who is reaching out to you? How can you say, you know what? I'll support you. I'll listen to you. We can connect. We can meet up. We can share, right? People need to be able to know that there's somebody, at least one person that is willing to support them. But young persons also need to speak up, right? If you're not
Yes.
saying that you're having challenges, we don't know as well. We don't understand what is going on. So even having the courage to say, I have a challenge, I need support, or can you point me in the right direction? Those are the things that are going to make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So even if you may not have the family, it's about being a brother's keeper,
Yep.
being a sister that a friend can lean on. Even looking back at the work with official Carrie Skeet and Lou within the news on the go space, a lot of lessons were learned.
Yeah.
They were professionals within a space, and it was a joy having both Carrie and Lou touch base where news on the go is concerned, which is why I feel like they are worth still having they're worth still having conversations with. Both of them exceptional personalities, and I'm happy to see that they've gone on and done tremendous things even within this space. And I'm looking forward to what the story that Luke can carry on where mental health is concerned. And it's really encouraging to see that they've built that community even within this digital space, within this online space, and really being a brother's keeper, a brother's keeper as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Ray just asked a question. So, how can young people place themselves in rooms so their voices can be heard?
How can young people place themselves in room where their voices can be heard? I would say it starts at a communal level. Where are you from, Dre? Which part of Barbados are you from? You from the south, east, which community? I would say it starts with having a conversation with your neighbors. We will hear a lot of Bajans saying, I don't talk to she. I don't talk to he. And that's not anything to boast or brag about. So where young people are concerned, it starts with having a conversation with your next door neighbor. It starts with building a relationship with the school in your area. It starts with having a conversation with your parliamentary representative. It starts with having a conversation with community groups in your area. And there's tremendous power in what I would call domestic networking within that small space. You never know who knows who. So you may say, I don't really have conversations with people in my neighborhood because my neighborhood ghetto. But then you go on to speak to your parliamentary representative or even the prime minister, and you realize, the prime minister actually has conversations with everybody within my immediate space. Or let's not use the prime minister as an example. Let's give consideration to maybe the opposition leader or someone from one of the other political parties. And you're not necessarily positioning yourself to be a politician, but there's tremendous power in connecting with people around you. So in terms of young people and networking to make their voice heard, I would say start within your community, start with your school, start with having a conversation with the principal, and do not be afraid. You have tremendous value to bring to spaces that you're in. Connect with people that you have an interest in. It may be horse racing, it may be culinary arts, it may be business, it may be the blue economy, it may be fishing. Have conversations with the people around you, and don't be afraid. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, you know. But take up space. Don't just enter a room and have nothing to say. You always have something to say. Barbadians are actually some of the most opinionated people in the world to me. It's just that we're also very quietly confident. I don't think we're passive at all. I think we're a quietly confident people. Some were outlandish or take up bigger space than others, but I would say it starts as simple as having a conversation with the people around you, building that knowledge base. Yes, there's knowledge from reading books, but a lot of knowledge as well, and you will see this as you go on, is actually, having those first person contacts with people within your space. I hope that answers the question as much as possible. And even, yeah, Celia.
So I'm going to add to what you said. And if Dre was in my class and Dre was listening last night, I always challenge my young persons. So even before you can have the conversations with others and thinking about how you navigate community, you have to first start having the conversation with yourself.
Mm,
Who is Dre?
right.
Yes? Where is Dre right now in his life? What is it that Dre needs? What are Dre's interests? What are Dre's um, strengths? What are my areas of improvement? The more you connect with yourself and you help to develop your own self-awareness and your own mental capacity, you're able then to navigate into spaces. So it's about doing the work on you, getting to know truly who you are, going on that journey of self-discovery. And the more you know about yourself, the more you're able to grow. And then you're able now to navigate with confidence,
Yeah.
right? So growing up, sports was my thing. I was very successful at basketball, but I there was something about me that knew I just needed to always get better. There's work
Mm-hmm.
that I always had to do every single day, whether it's reading, whether it was watching and listening, whether it was writing. There were things I needed to do to improve myself. So I think it first starts by improving yourself. Yes, knowing yourself, knowing the spaces that you want to go into, because every space is not for you,
Right.
right? So knowing the spaces that you want to go into, knowing who's in the space and who you can connect with in the space, and going into the spaces prepared.
Yeah.
What questions you want to ask this one person or these two people, right? And like you say, add value. So you're not
Yeah.
just going into spaces and taking, but what are you offering in
Right.
spaces as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and also that's a good point, Celia, and I hear where you're coming from. That's a brilliant point in terms of being prepared before you even enter the space, setting that intention before you go. So you're invited to a youth gathering with United Nations, having an idea of what is this youth gathering about, who are the people within the space, looking at the agenda, looking at the speakers, maybe doing a little, watching one or two videos or reading up
Mm-hmm.
about what they're presenting on, and setting that intention early o'clock about what you want to out of that space. And it's also a great point, that you've mentioned, bringing value to these spaces. It's not always about taking, but being benevolent as well. Because even though I have young people that I do mentor, I feel like I learn so much from young people, especially where social media is concerned, about how they socialize. How I was socialized as a 90s kid is not how you were socialized as a, I don't want to age you silly. So as a 90s
78.
kid, as a 70s kid, right? And how Savannah, who's still on the call with us, it was
Mm,
socialized as a 2000s baby. So there's
yeah,
so much that we can learn from each
from
other,
each
and having
other.
that symbiotic relationship as well. But I love that point that you've mentioned, though, not only wanting to take from spaces, but also saying, here's the added value that I can bring. Because oftentimes when we speak to persons of another level, they're also listening, is this person coming with a selfish intention? Are
Correct.
they only going to take and never give? So it's about being benevolent, being kind, being humorous, and being authentic as well. When you enter those spaces, not being afraid of being your own personality. It will be so boring if they're two sisters and all two are exactly alike. Not every they're twins and no two are exactly alike. They're zebras and no two stripes are exactly alike. So that's
Correct.
a good point. I love that
And,
point of
and my
of
last point would be
yeah,
don't rush it. So even though you want to be in spaces, don't force it.
yeah,
Flow with the intention of this is where I want to go. I know that if I do the work, yes, eventually I will get there, but don't force yourself into spaces either.
right. That's a
All
good
right.
point too.
So let's now transition into movement and mental wellness. How does movement and physical activity positively impact mental health?
I mean, the research shows in terms of the release of feel good endorphins, you've had a long day at the office and you decide to go for a walk, you decide to go for a swim, and you can feel how it positions, you can literally feel it. I know for a fact that I've felt it over the years. Having long hours at the Nation Publishing, having long hours at Loop News and other, media organizations that I've worked for,
Mhm.
and coming, work finishing around 5 o'clock some days, and then going to the gym, and you just get like this pump or this hype. You feel I felt as if I haven't had the energy, but then after going for like a
Yes.
walk, you may talk. It doesn't have to be super intense for people who are not as athletic as Celia from Beijing Fusion, but just going for a walk, just going for a swim, you're going to have the release of those feel good endorphins, and then it's literally going to set your agenda. So, human beings are matter, and we got to shake up that energy sometimes.
Yes.
We vibrate at different rates, and a dead body actually vibrates at 0 megahertz. There are some things which lift your human vibration, like, for example, frankincense that we've heard, a lot of Ethiopians use, which is considered an oil or aroma of royals. Frankincense actually vibrates around 70 megahertz. There are some conversations about how much chicken or meat vibrates at when you consume that, for those the
Mhm.
vegans within the room, but when you exercise, you get to shake up that energy and increase
Yeah.
your human vibration just from a
Mm-hmm.
spirit science point of view. So that is a scientific, a spirit science look at exercise and how you need to shake up that energy. But spending all summer just watching TV, eating junk food. I remember years ago, I was probably around 9 years old, and I was talking to my friend Tori, and I was like, "How do you put on weight?" And she was like, "It's easy. Just watch Cartoon Network all day and eat bare junk food and eat bare fast food." And she called the fast food outlet's name, and I was like, "Huh." I didn't try it though, but shaking up that energy, even if a person, may be battling with their weight, you don't have to be perfectly athletically aligned. Just getting in a couple skips, going for a walk, and shaking up stagnant energy. We are living human beings and we need to move, we need to operate, we need to stretch, we need to feel the sun and embrace that
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D. So in terms of my life and mental health and movement, I feel better. I can feel it in my body when I need to move. But it's also important to remember to take time to rest. You also need to take
Absolutely.
time to rest and go a little slower sometimes. So for
Mm-hmm.
me personally, around that time of the month as a female, I take time to check in with myself. Sometimes I also change my jewelry around that time. So I tend to wear silver. I tend to journal a lot more at that time. Silver is that gold, for example, is more outward looking. So I find when I wear silver, I'm more inward looking, more feeling more
Mm-hmm.
introverted, self-reflexive, and that type of thing. But that's a side point. But movement and exercise, it's brilliant. You feel better when you look good. You feel better when you move. You feel better when you get your steps in, and it helps with discipline. It helps with time management. Knowing the fact, oh yeah, it's Monday. I have to get to the gym at 4 o'clock. I know I have to wrap up this paperwork at this particular time. So there's tremendous benefits to mental health and movement
So
that I've
why
seen
do
in my
you
life.
think why do you think that people underestimate the connection between physical activity, movement, and emotional well-being?
I think it can be familiarity. If you
Mm-hmm.
may not have come from an athletic background, you may think back to times you had PE. I know, for example, a young politician was telling me how much he hates exercising because of how physical education made him feel at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some people associate it with feeling a lot more tired and not having fun. I think you have to consider what works for you. So for me, lifting a 40-pound dumbbell might not be a problem, and doing bicep curls, I like the challenge. But for you, you may enjoy playing tennis more than that. And that's getting in movement too. You may enjoy dance. There are a number of dancers who are actually very, very fit. You may enjoy calisthenics. You may enjoy skateboarding. You have to find an activity. You have to try to link that to fun as well. I think exercise should
Yeah.
be fun. It could be
Mm-hmm.
intense. It could be challenging. Sometimes you have to work your way up in terms of muscle recall and that kind of thing. But I think linking exercise to fun and reward can offer tremendous benefits. Some people may tend to forget, especially if you're struggling with their weight, they may tend to forget the benefits that come with exercise and just feeling like they're going to be a lot more tired than how the day has already made them feel.
Yeah.
So for
Mm-hmm.
you, even as a fitness professional, Celia, being a wellness catalyst with Beijing Fusion, you
Mm-hmm.
would have to try to remind those persons, you've been tired all day today, doing your 9 to 5, being on your feet, but you're going to feel a whole lot better when you get in some movement. People tend to forget how great movement makes them feel. They think, oh gosh, I worked the whole day. Oh gosh, I studied the whole day. I am going to be even more tired than how I was for the entire day. So it's really selling that point that they can make time for it. We make Because if you don't make time for movement and healthy living now, your body is going to make time for you to be ill later. So it's about prioritizing those things and realizing if you don't make time for this now, it's about picking your poison. Do you want to, feel the intensity now by going for a walk, by getting in a jog, or do you want to deal with an NCD crisis later? You want to deal with diabetes and hypertension and heart disease later? Okay, you don't want to deal with that. Then right now it might be good to get in some movement. And then it's about comfort levels too. People just get comfortable with how life is going, but life could be a whole lot sweeter if you get in your tass of booty and you bring it on back. And all of those fun things. But I really hope we can sell it as something fun. That's the truth.
Yeah, so I agree. It definitely has to be fun, but people also need to. There are times where even said women recognize how much better they feel. So I came to class tired, but once I got started, the music was on, I actually felt better. So there are some of them that would actually share their feelings. And I had another client where we were doing personal training. And then about 3 months in, she literally said, it feels good to be strong. It
Oh
feels good
wow.
to feel strong. When we
Yes.
first started, like she was very emotional, you know, postpartum, had a baby, right? Exercising, want to get fit again. And she was very emotional in the beginning of our relationship. And then as time went on, you just saw her confidence. And then
Mm.
as time went on, she started to lift heavier weights. And
Wow.
as time went on, she felt better to a point where she said it out loud to me. It feels good to feel stronger.
Oh, wow, I love that. That is so beautiful. You know, some of my favorite videos to watch, along with people cutting lawn. I love to
Hmm.
see people cutting lawn because I love to see changes. So watching the DIY channel as a child and watching old houses become new houses, watching old cars be repainted and remodeled. I actually like to watch people to watch weight loss videos, to watch transformation videos, people
Yeah.
transforming their lives. So it's interesting to hear you make that comment about the woman who said, you know, it feels good to be strong. It was almost like she forgot how amazing life could be when you're at your best.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is
And then
amazing to
after
think
that,
that
she got
people.
pregnant again.
Okay, well, she will learn all over again. She got a second chance to feel strong all over again.
But yes, that was a beautiful experience, and for me, I love when people come to their realizations. So even
Right.
as an athlete, sometimes you want people to be you or do it the way that you do it. But I would have had to learn to meet people exactly where they are
Yeah.
and kind of put them through a process. But it's most beautiful when they come to their own personal realizations as they continue to journey with you. Mishran, so
Yeah.
as it relates now to advocacy and youth wellness, you advocate strongly for mental health and youth empowerment. What are some of the major challenges you see and you believe that young people face today? I know you would have mentioned it, but being able to really drill down on that, and how can social media be used positively to support their mental health and their mental health awareness?
Okay, so a two-third question. What are some of the major challenges that I think young people are faced with currently? A lot of young people want opportunity. I was actually interviewing Michael Morris recently, and he's working with one of the front-facing personalities for Green Rising Barbados. And he point blank said, I asked him this same question, you know, what do young people really want? And he was like, money. And that's an interesting way to describe the wants of young people. But I think even with seeing so many young people spend so much time online, young people want to feel a part of community. They want to feel included. So yes, I agree with him to some degree, but I wouldn't say that's the number one thing.
Correct.
Because a child can be raised with a gold spoon, with highly rich parents or whatever, but they don't really feel a sense of purpose and community. And being included in community helps you to feel that sense of purpose. To answer the second question, though, in terms of what we can do on social media to get the attention of our young people, going back to the example of Lou, Lou spends tremendous time with his TikTok lives, and he has built community with that. There are a number of other young people that I do follow online, like it's Camila T. I shout out to her, a young lawyer. She has built community via her videos. So I would say young people are looking for that authenticity in spaces where they may not feel like they're seeing that on TikTok or on Instagram. So
Mhm.
I would say there young people want to feel that sense of community. Not they don't only want to hear about policies or whatever all these complex terms that the politicians may be using, but they want to see that brought down to their spaces and really having that connection. I mean, we have in going back to the whole conversation of Mariko's comments of money, yes, we have like the trust fund that has been put in place, but young persons may not know like how to register a business. They may not feel as if, you know, all of this red tape just to access $5,000. So I would say it's important for us to break down that information and really get on their level. We've had the conversation about mentors and mentees. In terms of how we connect and how young people connect, it's two different things. Even in
Mhm.
terms of, you know, managing news on the go and the young team that I have in place, how I approach things is not the way that a lot of the Gen Zs approach things. And we're talking about Gen Zs, but we're not talking about 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. We're talking about 21-year-olds. We're talking about 23-year-olds. And how they communicate, there's so much that we can learn about how we can change our communication so that everybody feels included. So, in terms of including our young people, I would say we have to try to break down the information to their level, yes, but then also have them know, this is what to aspire towards. This is what to raise up to be as well. A lot of it is kak and kikis and giggles and all of that, but I would say even in terms of like theater, using digital theater to connect with the youth, sometimes it's not always about a joke. We literally got young people who want to have access to, who want to be able to afford their rent, who want to be able to pay for their vehicles, who want to be able to go on and do great things for their families. Some young people, I knew of a young lady who was studying medicine, and she was like that silver lining for her family, for them to make it out of the struggle that they were trying to make it out of. So young people, yes, we need the economic empowerment. We need these conversations to continue. It's not always about just laughing. It really peeves me to see people creating content with no purpose. Like, is it all it is about your makeup and about what you had at a dinner last week? We need to create we need to create content that really piques the intellect of our youth, that is
Yeah.
really purpose aligned, that speaks to generations to come. And it is sad. I've had this conversation also with our new Minister of Heritage, Trevor Prescott, and the work of Marcus Garvey, as well as we head into the season of emancipation. And the work of Marcus Garvey in building out the Black Star Line, in building out Black newspapers. And, I don't consider myself racist at all. My grandfather was actually my great granddad was actually a white Italian man. So I don't consider myself, but the majority of Michron Robinson is Black Cillian. So I advocate for the minority groups, like our young Black people who would love to own a piece of the rock, but just can't because of their financial standing. So I'm really hoping that the content that we can produce is content that helps them to think critically, content that helps them to think about wealth, to think about legacy. And some may say, well, what's the point of that? Because we're going to die 100 years from now. Sorry, we're going to die in a couple of years and we're going to leave planet Earth and somebody else would inherit what we have. Yeah. But 400 years ago, even though all those slaves died of coming across the Atlantic, a majority of people of African American descent, of Black of Barbadian African descent, are in the position that they're in, even though that happened 400 years ago. So I'm really saying that I hope the content that we see from our young people could be thought-provoking content. It could be content that helps them to think critically. It could be content that helps to inspire. It's not content to laugh at mosquitoes biting your foot. It's not content that gonna talk about a centipede that you see crawling across the playing ground, or a dog driving a car. And I don't mean to call out any of our content creators. I'm just saying, culturally, and speaking about heritage and legacy, I'm hoping that we can really get some of that messaging in there. Yes, get some of that messaging in there about what it means to have equal rights and justice as a human being, about what it means to have a civilized and intelligent conversation with you, are in the presence of wealth and royalty, what it means to understand what's happening across the globe, within the US, within the UK, within those wars in Syria, within what's happening with the Gaza conflict and the positioning of Vladimir Putin. Yeah, everything doesn't have to be serious, but there's a way that we can blend culture with what's happening across the globe and even within the international field. I actually come from a theater background as well. So my aunt, Yolanda Holder, my cousin Chad Boyne, and my dad is a talker. I never consider myself a talker, but
Well,
I've done it
I
in
think
that.
if everybody's listening, everybody knows you are a talker.
I prefer to be quiet sometimes, but you observe a lot when you're quiet, And yeah, I really hope we can have content that while our young people scroll, because the TikTok that a lot of Chinese children consume, sorry, is actually about engineering and re-engineering. What are our young people consuming? The 80% of African Barbadian children. Is it just
Yeah.
about laughter? Is it just about drinking alcohol? Is it just about a costume for carnival. The happiest people for crop over, in my opinion, should be the part. Yes, the tourists and those who choose to take part in the walk ups and all of that. But the happiest, you should be celebrating profits. You should be, that's how the Jews operate. And I don't know, I don't mean to segregate, but I'm saying we should be celebrating wins, is what I'm trying to say today. We should be celebrating doing well in school. We should be celebrating those things as opposed to young black women out there, just carrying on and walking up and celebrating. What are you celebrating every weekend? I'm just hoping that there's more, that we can have more substance.
And that's why you are taking up space, because you have a voice and you have a platform and you can bring people into the space to help to create this kind of content,
Yeah.
right? So the more you do it and other young persons are inspired by you and maybe want to learn from you, that's how we start to build out the content. And again, there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're never going to get rid of, they're never going to get rid of themselves. They're going to be
Yeah.
partying all the time. They're going to be drinking all the time. They're going to be shaking in bottoms. They're going to be
Yeah.
doing all those things. So now we have to really focus, zoom in on what are our priorities and
Right.
who actually want to hear from us, who actually want to see us, who it is that we want to serve,
Right.
right? That's where it starts. We can't worry about them because we know that they're always going to do them.
Right. Right. Right.
What can we do with the time that we have and the resources to be able to create content and to be able to encourage young people that there is a better way and there are benefits from doing it this way, right? How
Yeah.
can we make what I would hear one of the entrepreneurs, Gary Vee, make positivity louder?
Right.
How do
Yes.
we do that? That's what we really need to do. I'm just going to read back two comments that I saw. Savan, I agree. A lot of social media is just because there's no purpose with them. Geneva, indeed, self-motivation is key. Great point on social media. We know Barbados' purpose is tied to passion. Young people have to find what they're passionate about
And
beyond
who said that? Who said
self-gratification.
that comment?
We know Barbados. So
We know
purpose is
Barbados. Yeah,
tied
that's
to
interesting.
passion. Young people have to find what they're passionate about beyond self gratification, short term gains, and money. So we are the persons in the space that we love young people, but we will challenge young people because we do want young people to find themselves, go on that journey of self discovery, and being in spaces to help pull these things out of you.
Yeah.
And another challenge that I see young people having is a lot of them don't want to be uncomfortable. A lot of them don't want to do the important work, and the important work is actually uncomfortable work. You got to dig deeper. You got to uncover things that you may not want to uncover. You may have to face things that you had put under the rug, but you have to lift the rug and you have to deal with it, right? And I think that's the challenge. Nobody wants to feel discomfort, right? And then you're in your head consistently because you're thinking about the negative things that can happen. But what if it actually works out, right? People who are successful, it didn't start with everything hunky dory, everything rosy. Everything is a challenge, especially when you're trying to get to another level. So how do we empower young people that part of this journey of connection, in this journey of making money, right? Having those finances is you have to put in effort. You have to experience some discomfort in order to get to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a brilliant point. That's a brilliant point. And I just want to go back to what you were saying about experiencing difficult. It has to feel different than what you are accustomed to. Sometimes we
Correct.
just want to feel comfortable. And I remember being around the age of 21 or so, and it was at the Nation, and one of my friends at the time, Alex Dongs. Alex was within Prime Minister's office recently, and he was actually inviting me to go to this young parliamentarians gathering. And I was like, me? Why do I need to be in that space? And I felt afraid at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't go. And but I'm happy that I've decided, since then to find myself in certain spaces. It was uncomfortable at the time. I was like, but would I have something to say? Would I have an opinion? I don't feel like I know enough about policy. How am I going to take up space? So sometimes it is about being uncomfortable. You haven't
Mm-hmm.
experienced it before. You haven't experienced certain things before. You remember when you lost your first tooth, maybe one of your incisors, and you were like, my tooth, is it going to grow back? You know, it was uncomfortable at the time, but you needed to lose the tooth in order to have the two big teeth that you have here today. So some things
Correct.
are going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to. You remember what it was like learning to drive? I remember my instructor saying, you don't put the van in this particular gear, or you need to push in the clutch. You need to push in the clutch. As we probably going over BT Hill or whatever the case is. So sometimes you are going to be uncomfortable, and that is okay. Who says that discomfort has to lead to no growth? In order for you
That's
to
actually where the growth happens, in the
right,
discomfort. And then when
yes,
you go through
exactly.
it, like you drive, you go places, you don't even know how you got there, but you got there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? So it is part of the process. So when you can put that in your mindset, that going on the journey of improving self or building new relationships or making more money, there is a level of discomfort. I want to wrap up with you sharing what you're looking forward to our fitness party happening this Saturday, June 13th, Global Wellness Day, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Main Guard, Clock Tower, Garson, Savannah. What are you looking forward to most, and why events like the fitness party matter to you or matter?
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant way to wrap up, Celia. You know what? I am looking forward to community. I'm looking forward to seeing all the entrepreneurs and people within that health space come together for the sole purpose of advancing the cause of health and wellness in Barbados.
Mm,
We need to continue carrying on this messaging. And I
yes,
feel like events such as these, Global Wellness Day, so it's not only a Barbadian thing, but across the globe, in America, in the UK, even in some parts of Africa, we are challenged where NCDs are concerned. We are
yes,
so privileged in this part of the hemisphere that it is not because of war, but it is literally because of our lifestyle, things that we're choosing to do, things that are within our power, how we're eating, how we are not moving, how we're sometimes cutting back on sleep. So I'm happy that through Bayesian Fusion's fitness party for Global Wellness Day, but also prioritizing our men. We had our
yeah,
women in March, men's mental health awareness month this June. So people like Chris, people like Dre that are on the call, encouraging you to share this with a friend. It's just $50 to come out, a small nominal fee for what you can pay for the experience, seeing other Barbadians celebrating health. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to setting up the art tent for sure. But also,
hmm,
I was looking forward to some of those competition things that are included. Maybe
yes.
fastest
We have
woman
the
at the fitness party. And then we
fastest
got some
female,
exciting
fastest
prizes there as
male.
well. And
Yeah.
that small nominal fee of just $50, you can afford that. The economy is not that bad. So you come out in, even if you don't think you can afford it and you're a young person on the call, ask about having an older person sponsor you to come out. Have them know this is an investment in the future of health of Barbados. So I'm looking forward to that community. I'm looking forward to the fun. I'm looking forward to the challenges. I personally had a wonderful time when we did the women's health walk with Beijing
Yes.
Fusion back in March. So
Yes.
you know what? That was a wonderful Sunday. So much conversation came out of that. So we prioritize our women in March. Now is the time for our men. And I'm looking forward to the content that we're going to get from there and sharing the stories. It's crop over time. Come and shake a leg. Don't just wait till you got drinks in you to shake a leg. Come out and have fun. It's going to be fun, people. So I'm
And
looking
not
forward to
only
it, Celia.
that, the element of men, like you said, the Men's Health Month, we also have cultural entertainment. We have
Right.
Kurt Brown, who's going to be our celebrity host.
Yes.
On Saturday, we have Mr. Dale, who's
Yes.
obviously going to be performing a number of his
Yes.
songs. We also have Sam Sounds Music, who will be doing
Sounds
one of
from
his
your sound
songs.
system. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Sun Rock. So the whole idea is we want men to really come out and see the representation and see that these men are also on their journey of taking care of their health and wellness. So if you're on live and you're interested in coming out to our fitness party, you can visit www.bajanfusion.com/events. You're going to see our book now form. It's a booking form. You complete the booking form. We can send you the payment information. But on our website, we also have the banking details there. And once you make your payment, we will send you, once you make your payment, you'll be able then to attend the event on Saturday. It's a lot of fun. It's really about fusing fitness, it's fusing wellness, it's fusing community, and it's really about saying we need to go back to the old time days of building community and really bringing people together in a fun and in a holistic way. Any last minute thought, Michron, you would like to add?
Yes, I would love to say being raised with my dad and my uncles and having two brothers, I love Barbadian men. I love, I've had wonderful cousins. Some may duck me once or twice in the beach, but I love Bajan men. I love the way they express themselves. I find that Barbadian men hold a lot of space for Barbadian women and women particularly. I find there's a softness about them, coming from a matriarchal society. So I would say men come out and realize that we Bajan women love you and we want to see you do well. You are part of the backbone of our society as well. So take up space and prioritize the health. Come out for this Bajan fusion fitness party for this mental health awareness month and realize that you are valued. We hear all of this talk, but realize that you're valued within this space. So what I want to say finally, Celia, it was brilliant having this conversation with you. I know it wouldn't be the last, hoping that we can get more young people to come and hear the conversation and the insights. But this was a beautiful conversation. You were an amazing host, as you always are.
Thank
And looking
you.
forward to Saturday, man. Looking forward to this Fusion Fitness party and having a time. Kirk Breezy. Kirk is a wonderful personality doing his thing. As you know,
Mhm.
Mr. KB on Vibe 94.7 and Dale and all the others that you mentioned. So I'm really excited for it. And a massive shout out to all the people who took time this evening to join the Beijing Fusion Live.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining our life. It's a pleasure. And again, like Mishran said, we want to continue having these conversations, not just when we're leading up to events or, we want to make sure that whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, we want to make sure that we can continue to connect with our community. So feel free to drop in the chat really quick some of the topics that you would want to hear from us from Beijing Fusion and us being able to bring in our network as well to support your journey. Mishron, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for sharing. And I cannot wait to read your book.
Brilliant, resilient. As Grana will say, fan mail from 27 million.
See you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, bye bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye
Looking
bye.
forward to it. Bye bye.